Greetings, Taurus and Taurus rising. This is your Western forecast for June 2025. Expansive Jupiter is entering into the sign of Cancer on June the 9th, 2025. It's there for 1 year to the very end of June 2026. Jupiter goes through each sign for a year. It takes 12 years to repeat the cycle, but going into Cancer brings the best of Jupiter. That's because when Jupiter is transiting Cancer, Cancer is the exalted sign for Jupiter, meaning that it can give the best of Jupiter. It means that its functions are very strong and positively expanding. Cancer is nurturing, intuitive, emotional intelligence sign. And when Jupiter transits exalted Cancer, you can tend to see a collective increase in emotional growth, care for others, home matters, and protective instincts. Now, Jupiter is being in Cancer is 3 signs past Taurus. So the third sector, which is being highlighted, is the sector of communications, speaking, writing, learning, studying. Also very favorable for selling, for short distance traveling, and all of that wants to really expand. But before I break down further, if you enjoy these kinds of videos and would like to see more of them, click like and subscribe. And don't forget to click on the notification bell so you can receive the latest postings. Now, because Jupiter changing signs and once every 12 years going into its best exalted sign, that's where I wanted to bring up right away that this is a major planetary event, bringing lots of growth and possibilities to learning and speaking and writing, selling. But let's start with where is the sun? Because I usually start with where the sun is transiting as the first thing. But this is Jupiter going into Cancer is such a big deal every 12 years, I wanted to just jump on it on the get-go. But the first 3 weeks of every June, the sun is transiting Gemini. And Gemini is the sign after Taurus. So the sun is putting a spotlight on the second house sector. And the second, in basic astrology, puts a spotlight on your income, your possessions. The sun lights it up. And Jupiter has been in Gemini since last year. It's only going to remain in Gemini in your second house of income until June the 9th. So the first 9 days, there's still a lot of optimism, a lot of opportunities for financial growth. Then, perhaps, with that Jupiter going into Cancer in the third, because you might have been so motivated with the Sun, Jupiter, and the second of income, you might be wanting to take some classes, get more training, go back to school. That could be the third house, to be able to make more money in the future. Now, but June, there's a push and a pull we have to be careful about. Because not only Jupiter's going into Cancer, very favorable, but when it's right at the beginning of Cancer, it's going to be squaring or forming this frustrated energy to Saturn and Neptune. Saturn will be at 1 degree of Aries, and Neptune is at 1 degree of Aries. So in the middle of June, to be exact, the Jupiter is squaring Saturn and Neptune. The Saturn is delaying and blocking and frustrating all of those, maybe these goals for selling and learning and education. The Jupiter to the Neptune can also trigger a lot too much anxiety, uncertainty. Now, as I would have talked about in last month's video, Saturn and Neptune are joining together in Aries. Once every 36 years, we have that Saturn-Neptune alignment. It's not exact until February 2026, but we're getting a lot of previews and clues of what this could bring into your life at the very end of May, going into June of 2025. And as I would have mentioned last month, this Saturn-Neptune alignment is going to bring a lot of favorable energy overall for the world, which the world really needs. Because Neptune represents the hope, the vision, the aspirations. And Saturn, when there's nothing else going on with this alignment, or when there might have been a more stressful other planet impacting the Saturn-Neptune, it could bring in a lot of discouragement and fear. But Pluto, transformational Pluto, will be excellent to the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries because it's air and fire. Aquarius is air. And then come July, Uranus, liberating progressive Uranus, is moving into Gemini, the other air sign. So you have these two outer planets, I'm sure I discussed this last month, that are giving a great deal of support to the Saturn-Neptune. So the downside of Saturn-Neptune could be all this anxiety and uncertainty. But since there's all this positive support, then the Neptune, your dreams, your aspirations, may seem more possible, more grounded, and Saturn can help you manifest your long-range visions. This cycle is being set up for these next 36 years. And for Taurus and Taurus rising, the Saturn and Neptune is in your 12th house. The 12th house, the most obvious positive, especially with the Neptune, is getting so much more involved with spiritual practices or helping those less fortunate or charity, philanthropy. But on a more mundane level, and Taurus likes that financial security, then the 12th house could be an example of going back to school and get that degree, which could take 4 years, could take 7 or 8 years. That could be all that work behind the scenes. Or you could be building and developing, not just getting an education, but maybe writing a book or writing a screenplay, or building some kind of foundation to help those less fortunate. And all that could take time and doing a lot of work behind the scenes. But there's a lot of support. But let's go back to Saturn in the middle of June. So pretty much from as soon as Jupiter went into Cancer on the 9th. So the rest of June, you're having expansive Jupiter in the 3rd house of learning and writing and meetings, but it's going to get restricted or feeling contracted by Saturn. And then the Neptune is causing a lot of uncertainty and anxiety, but this too shall pass, and it's only going to happen once. I bring that up because these outer planets will move forward, appear to stop, as viewed through a telescope, and go retrograde or appear to go backwards. Well, when Jupiter retrogrades in Cancer, it's not going to go all the way back to 1 degree of Cancer, which would be squaring the Saturn and the Neptune. So you're only getting that struggle once. And maybe it has a lot to do with triggering a lot of anxiety and fears and being overwhelmed because of some major projects you are setting up for the long-range goals. Now, that Sun in Gemini, the first 3 weeks, is putting a spotlight on your 2nd house of income. And then the Sun goes into Cancer on June the 20th, in your 3rd house, joining Mercury which will go into Cancer, into the third house on June the 8th. Mercury is curious, it's learning. Mercury is the natural ruler of Gemini and the third house. And now the Jupiter is in that third house. So because you're starting off the month is how to increase your income. Then all these powerful planetary events, especially once every 12 years of Jupiter in exalted Cancer in the third house, is how to get the professional training or how to publish or write a book, all of those projects to make more money. But June, you might be a bit overwhelmed with the size of that goal. But then you'll get into it, and this is very favorable for all that third house of learning and teaching and writing. Now, Venus is the ruler of Taurus. So Venus being your ruling planet, when any transit of Venus, you're feeling it more directly, more personally. The Venus goes into Taurus June the 5th. To July the 4th, once a year, and this is during a retrograde period, which only happens every year and a half. So this beginning of June through the beginning of July, here's your ruling planet, Venus, in Taurus. You could be feeling more sociable, more charming, wanting to be more attractive, but Venus is also the planet of attraction. So there's that friendly love attraction, but it could be money attraction, opportunity attractions. And having that Venus in the first house, people are going to be more attracted to you. You're going to be more charming and friendly. This would be good for love and relationships and friendships, which goes along with Mars. Now, Mars is assertive, can be physical, can be sexual energy. It's a 2-year cycle. Mars has been in Leo, which is 4 signs past Taurus, from the middle of April to June the 17th. So there could be a lot of activity, Mars, with 4th house matters. Moving, repairing, real estate, family. It could be a lot of stress or a lot of tremendous activity. But on June the 17th, for the first time in 2 years, that assertive Mars goes into Virgo, an Earth sign, compatible with Taurus, an Earth sign. And Virgo, it's 5 signs past Taurus. Mars will be in that 5th house sector from June the 17th till August the 6th. The 5th sector is pleasurable, romance, fun and games, sports, and Mars is certainly very physically active. So it'd be good for any kind of sports or wanting to go on an adventure with a vacation. It can rule children. You may be more playful with children or bringing your inner child out to play. But this can be very sexual energy. And so some of you could be conceiving, or better yet, could be good for giving birth, especially with your ruling planet Venus in Taurus, because it would bring a lot of protection. So this is a major 12-year cycle. There's a lot of pleasurable energies here, a lot of sociable, attractive energies going on here. But I think for many of you, this is about learning, writing, selling. So really expanding the best of all those third house activities. I want to thank you for watching. If you like information on how to book an astrology reading or to check out my 2-question offer, visit my website at gardino.co. That's .co. Until next month, be safe and well.